A lot of people move to Florida expecting lower costs, and end up surprised by how much they actually spend. Because the truth is, Florida can feel affordable at first. But once you're actually living there, the real costs start to show up. And most of them aren't talked about enough. In this video, we're breaking down the true cost of living in Florida, not just rent or home prices, but the hidden expenses that can completely change your monthly budget. So before you decide to move, make sure you understand what it really costs to live here. Let's get started. Housing isn't the only big expense. Most people focus on rent or mortgage, and that's important. But what many don't expect is how much total housing cost can increase once you include everything else. In many Florida cities, especially fast-growing ones, rent has gone up significantly over the past few years. Even in areas that used to be considered affordable, prices are rising. But beyond rent, you also have property taxes, HNA fees, maintenance, and utilities. And those can add up quickly. Compared to some other states, you might not pay state income tax, but housing-related costs can offset that advantage. This hits hardest for first-time buyers and people relocating from lower-cost areas who expect Florida to be cheaper across the board. Insurance costs can be a shock. This is one of the biggest hidden costs in Florida. Home insurance, and especially flood insurance, can be significantly higher than what many people are used to. Depending on the location, premiums can vary a lot, but in coastal or flood-prone areas, they can increase your monthly expenses more than expected. Even car insurance tends to be higher in many parts of Florida compared to the national average. This works as a major factor for homeowners, especially in areas with higher risk exposure. And here's something many people don't expect. Insurance costs can change over time, so what seems manageable at first may increase later. Florida isn't always cheap when it comes to daily living. Groceries, dining, and services in many cities are comparable to national averages, and in some areas, even higher. If you're living in or near popular cities, you'll likely notice that everyday spending adds up faster than expected. Utilities are another factor. Air conditioning is used almost year-round, which means higher electricity bills compared to cooler states. This affects almost everyone, but especially families and people moving from regions with lower utility usage. Florida is not a very public transit-friendly state. In most cities, you'll need a car, and that comes with fuel, insurance, maintenance, and parking costs. Gas prices fluctuate, but the bigger factor is how much you rely on driving daily. Compared to cities with strong public transportation systems, your transportation budget in Florida will likely be higher. This is especially important for commuters and families with multiple vehicles. This is where many people underestimate their budget. Florida isn't just about basic living, it's about lifestyle. Beaches, dining, entertainment, weekend trips, all of that adds up. And because the lifestyle is so accessible, people tend to spend more without realizing it. Compared to quieter or inland states, there's simply more to do, and more opportunities to spend. This works especially for young professionals and families who want to enjoy what Florida offers, but it can slowly increase monthly expenses. Here's the unexpected part. For many people, the biggest cost isn't rent, it's lifestyle habits that change after moving. Florida is known for having no state income tax, which is a big advantage. But that doesn't mean overall costs are low. Sales tax, property tax, insurance, and daily expenses still play a major role in your total budget. Compared to some states, you may save on income tax, but spend more in other areas. So while Florida can still be tax-friendly, it's not automatically cheaper overall. This is especially important for people moving from states with different tax structures. And if you think these costs are manageable, wait until you consider the next few factors, because this is where the real long-term expenses start to show. Healthcare in Florida can be very different depending on where you live. In larger cities, You'll have access to better hospitals and specialists, but often at higher costs. In smaller towns, costs might be lower, but options can be limited. For retirees and families, this becomes a major factor in long-term budgeting. One thing people don't always realize is how much location affects both cost and access. Florida is one of the fastest-growing states in the country, and that growth is affecting costs. As more people move in, demand increases for housing, services, and infrastructure. That pushes prices higher over time. Cities that were affordable a few years ago are becoming more expensive, and that trend is continuing. This is especially important if you're planning to stay long-term. One of the biggest challenges in Florida is the gap between wages and living costs in certain areas. Some cities have strong job markets, but others rely heavily on service-based industries, where wages may be lower. So while living costs are rising, income levels don't always increase at the same pace. This is something many people only realize after moving. It affects professionals, service workers, and even some remote workers depending on their income stability. At the end of the day, the true cost of living in Florida isn't just about numbers. It's about how well your income matches your lifestyle. The same salary can feel very comfortable in one city, and very tight in another. That's something many people don't fully realize until after they move. Compared to smaller or inland cities, coastal and high-growth areas can quickly stretch your budget. But at the same time, they may offer better opportunities, lifestyle, and long-term value. So the real question isn't just, is Florida expensive? It's, does this location fit your income and lifestyle? For many people, that's the difference between enjoying Florida and struggling to keep up. If you're planning to move to Florida, I've added some useful essentials in the description below. Things like moving supplies, home setup items, and everyday basics that can help make your transition easier. And that's the true cost of living in Florida, what most people don't tell you before you move. Florida can still be a great place to live, but only if you understand the full picture, not just the highlights. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment what Florida topic you want us to cover next. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.